Hi everyone, my name is Craig. I am a derivatives trader in an investment bank. I'm a dad and I'm a competitive bodybuilder. And a lot of people wonder how I can balance all of these things. I'm actually at an interesting part of time of my life where I've just left one firm and I'm about to join another one. So, with that in mind, I thought it was a good time where I can share with you how I'm going to build my schedule going forward, just so that you can see sort of how I think about things and how I do it. And hopefully, this will provide you with some hints on how you can do things yourself. Because I'm a finance guy, naturally, we are going to use PowerPoint and Excel for the presentations. Let's just dive into it here. So, in terms of the process, it's actually very simple. What we want to do is just break things down to the very basics. We need to establish the priorities first, which is like what really matters to you in life. So, in my case, that's pretty simple. It's, of course, career, family, fitness, and friends. So as long as I can have those things incorporated into my schedule, I'm generally pretty happy. I don't need a lot of, recreation time, etc. There's always times to do things on the weekends, etc. But it's really the weekdays that we want to lock down and make sure that we have almost every minute accounted for. The way that we do that is starting out with the immovables, which are the inflexible time constraints. So that, for example, are your working hours, assuming that your working hours are somewhat fixed. In my case, they are. So that's what we're going to speak to today. And then fleshing out the less rigid items after. So, for example, I know this sounds strange to some people, but putting sleep in there, sleep is one of those things where as long as you get enough, it doesn't really matter what time it happens. So, that's we'll speak on that in a bit. And of course, what time of day you train, that depends on whether if your start time of the day is always fixed or if your end time is always fixed, timing of the meals, etc., etc. So this is where we move into the Excel. Well, it's actually Google Sheets. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, it's the same thing, a spreadsheet. So starting with the inflexible stuff. So I work as a dollar swaps trader in Asia, which means that my start of day is always fixed. The markets open at 8:30 a.m. Tokyo time. I have a morning meeting at 8:15 a.m. Tokyo time. So that means I need to be in the office by 8:15. And then generally speaking, London walks in at about 3 p.m. Tokyo time, 3 or 4 p.m. depending on the time of year. And then there's quite a busy period where European investors and the European markets open, and so there's more market information going around. That incites a lot more trading. Also, there's a lot more liquidity because there's both the European investor base and also the Asian investor base that are in the office. So it's quite a hot time for trading. That usually lasts about 2 hours and then starts to die down. So generally speaking, I try to aim to get out of the office by about 6 p.m. Sometimes that runs over and goes to 6:30, so we'll just mark to 6:30, as my working hours here. And because we're talking about work, we're going to mark it with green because that's the color of money. Well, in the US anyways. I would probably use brown if it's in Japan, but that doesn't make a very nice visual, so we're not going to do that. And now I can't see the font, so change that. Okay, so the work hours are now in there. Now, naturally, getting to and from work, that's a concern. So my commute is about 45 minutes from door to door. So we're going to throw that in next. And we will make that this blue. And then on the other side, same thing. Okay, so now we've got our work and our commute in. The other things that I need to do in terms of sort of family responsibilities is I need to take my dogs out for a walk. They need to be walked at 6:30 in the morning. So I'm going to put them in. I'll make it purple. And then I also need to walk them at about 8:30 p.m. So we're going to throw that in here too. I have 2 black Shiba Inu, if you're wondering. They are wonderful dogs. They shed a lot, but other than that, they are wonderful. Then, obviously, the time in between taking the dogs out for a walk in my commute is the time that I get ready for work. So I'll just pop that in here. I'll make it this color, whatever it is. So that get ready includes getting ready for work and having breakfast with my son, etc., etc. Um, the other key thing is, of course, training. Right, as I mentioned, my start of day is always fixed. My end of day is variable depending on how busy the markets are. As such, it's much easier for me to be able to reliably train early in the morning, which means that I start training quite early. It takes me about 90 minutes to do the workout that I do. It's generally about an hour worth of lifting and then 20 minutes of cardio, we'll call it, and then an extra 10 minutes of buffer there. So I'll plug this in here from 5, and we will make this red because we train intensely. So that means that I have to get up at 4:45 to make it to the gym. Um, a lot of you might wonder why that's so fast. How can I wake up at 4:45 and get into the gym by 5? I live very close to the gym, so that's the reason why that happens. The other thing is that I fully prepare the night before I go. So that means that I have my gym gear, the clothes that I'm going to wear. I leave them laying on the stairway, heading towards the door. So I get out of bed, literally just drag over, pick up my clothes, walk up to the washroom, then I weigh myself. I then take my pre-workout, which is sitting there waiting for me. Which I don't usually mix it the night before, but I will portion everything out and then just add water. After I've weighed myself, I chug that down and then put my gym gear on and then walk out. I grab my bag, which has my intra-workout shake in it, ready to go. Again, that's not pre-mixed; that's just pre-measured. And then get to the gym, and usually I can get to the gym within 15 minutes of waking up. Of course, that's going to change for everyone, but yeah, the nuts and bolts of it are, the more that you can prepare in advance and make it easier for yourself to hit the gym, the better. If you're training first thing in the morning. Now, in order to facilitate training at 4:40, like getting up to train at 4:45, obviously I need to get to bed pretty early. Generally speaking, ideally, I want to try to get 7 hours of sleep. That's hard sometimes, easier other times. But my hard and fast rules are that if I am awake, if I sleep less than 6 hours, I will not train. And the reason why I won't train is just because my recovery will be insufficient. There is a very strong chance that my cortisol levels will be high from lack of sleep and then also from the additional burden of training, which means that I'm very unlikely to make gains anyways. Or if I'm in the dieting context and I'm trying to lose for a show, then that will likely make me potentially wind up wasting muscle, and I don't want to do that. So if I'm not able to sleep for at least 6 hours, then I just call off training, take a rest day, and then hopefully get back at it the next day. On the other hand, if I can actually get my 7 hours, then that's ideal. Anything between 6 and 7 hours is still green light for training, as far as I'm concerned. And if I can get more than 7 hours, that's great. But to be honest, there's not really enough hours in the day to facilitate that. So it's very, very rare that I would get more than 7 hours. So 7 hours, that means that I need to get to bed by about 9:45 p.m. So 9:45 bedtime. And then that will allow me to do that. Now it's probably useful to show how I plan my meals and how those happen. As a trader, I spend pretty much the entire day on the desk because the market doesn't ever close or have a lunch break or anything in U.S. dollar space. So that means that I eat on the desk. The first meal is, of course, after training. And while I'm getting ready, this, in the interest of time, is usually, although it's not optimal, it's usually just a shake. So it'll be something like, say, for example, 100 grams of oatmeal and 50 grams of whey protein in a shake, and that's enough just to get me going. And then I have my first solid meal when I'm at work. where I try to get it. So I have that morning meeting at 8:15, 8:30, need to see how the market opens. And then generally about 9 a.m. when things are starting to get a bit more established, then and the rhythm of the day is kind of set, then I'll get the first meal in. The next meal will come in a couple of hours later. Um, and again, this will be at my desk. And then as I mentioned earlier, London gets in about 3 or 4 p.m. So I try to get the third meal out of the way just before they come in so that I don't have anything to worry about when they do get in and the market starts getting busy. Then after the initial sort of burst of activity and whatnot, then I try to slot in another meal here after once everyone is sort of in and the frantic trading period is over. Then we'll throw in meal 4. I've done all of these wrong. Sorry. This is meal 2. This is meal 3. Sorry about that. This is the benefits of me recording real time, is you get to see my mistakes. Meal 5. Okay. And then on the way home, I ride the subway, so it's easy for me to stop by the grocery store and grab something to eat. So I'll generally grab a very lean pork steak or like a lean steak or something, which I will then prepare fresh and have for dinner. So that's kind of like my big event at the end of the day. I'll generally eat about 7:30 p.m. For my last meal there. And then take the dogs out and stuff like that after, sneak in a TV program with my wife sometime, after we've walked the dog before I go to bed. So, you'll notice that if the dog walk is 15 minutes, that leaves exactly an hour, which is exactly one episode of television. So it does actually work pretty nicely. And then, of course, if I wind up running a little bit past 9:45, then as long as I'm not up till 10:30 or something like that, then it's easy enough to just train on 6.5 hours of sleep or something like that. So this is really just sort of the general nuts and bolts of how I've prepared everything. Of course, there's a lot of preparation in advance with in terms of the meals and stuff like that. But perhaps I'll get into that in another video. I just wanted to show you how it is possible to balance the demands of family, work, and your training goals. Certainly if I can do this with an hour and a half of training every day and, full work day, and then in addition to that, getting 6 meals in, that, if you've got something where you're trying to get 3 or 4 meals in and maybe train for an hour in a day, then hopefully this is something that, that you'll be able to manage as well. I think that the main thing is really just planning and preparation, and also a lot of routine, right? The more routine that you can make things, the less likely it is that you will wind up deviating from it. So just strongly encourage that. You try to find that routine that works for you. Of course, it's all going to depend on your own individual needs. And the other thing that's really important to remember is that this is just a basic framework. Life happens. We always need to respond with some degree of flexibility. And, if things do go wrong, then the best thing to do is just pick up again the next day and try it again. There's no point in sort of, fretting about if you had a, unexpected visitor from out of town or something and had to slot in a business dinner that you hadn't planned for. There's really not that much that you can do about that. You just have to kind of roll with the punches and be confident that, if you're following a plan like this for, an extended period of time, for example, like, a year or 2 years, that, these sort of isolated incidents when you're not perfect, when you can't provide perfect adherence, that they're not going to completely derail the whole thing, because it's much more about consistency over time as opposed to, being perfect all the time, right? I would rather take a plan where somebody can be 90% adherent for 2 years rather than being 100% adherent for 3 months and then fall off, right? So if there's anything in this video that you found useful, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Feel free to ask me questions down below, or if there's other stuff that you want me to talk about, please let me know, because I really want to share this stuff with you. You can also find me on Instagram. Thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this. Hope to see you again next time. Thanks.